Staying in Delaware now, Christine O'Donnell's surprise victory might be the big headline out of last night's primaries. But as you heard Christina mention, she faces an uphill battle against her opponent in the general election, Newcastle County Executive Chris Coons, who's already leading in several statewide polls today. Chris joins me now via phone. And Mr. Coons, you must feel like you've got a new lease on life. Tell us what your last 24 hours have been like.
Well, thanks for a chance to be on with you today, Nancy. I've been running for the U.S. Senate here in Delaware for 6 months, and I've been going up and down the state and listening to Delaware's families and hearing their concerns, their anxiety, their anger about losing their jobs or losing their homes, their concerns about not being able to pay their bills, and their anger at Washington and wanting someone who will go to Washington to fix what's broken. I don't think that's changed from yesterday to today. The race that I'm running, the issues that I want to address, the things that I want to bring to the fight to make America strong again are exactly the same, regardless of who my Republican opponent is.
Still, though, we do know that the polls had showed you trailing behind Mike Castle, who had held statewide office for 20 years. The National Democratic Party seemed to be pretty pessimistic about reclaiming the seat based on his statewide visibility. And now they're much more optimistic. Are you getting calls from Democrats in Washington saying we're going to give a lot more money, a lot more resources to your campaign?
Well, Nancy, you're right. Congressman Castle served Delaware for 30 years as a statewide elected official. I called him last night to thank him for his service. He has been a decent and honorable public servant who's worked very hard for the people of Delaware. And he's part of a long tradition here of electing moderate and independent and effective folks and sending them to represent us in Washington. I have gotten a lot of calls from people who are excited about my campaign, folks who've supported me from the beginning but are re-energized. And I think there is a strong chance that I'll be Delaware's next senator. But I don't take anything for granted. The reality is, Nancy, that the folks here in Delaware, like people all over this country, want to know who's got real ideas for moving the country forward, and they're looking for candidates with experience, with values, and with concrete proposals. That's what I'm focusing on today.
Let's talk about that experience for a moment. As I mentioned earlier, you're the Newcastle County Executive. You have been for 6 years. That's one of Delaware's 3 counties. But this seems like the kind of year where the prevailing sentiment among a lot of voters is, hey, throw all the bums out. So how do you highlight that experience without being lumped in as part of the establishment?
Well, Nancy, I spent 8 years working in one of Delaware's most innovative manufacturing companies before being elected county executive. And I ran for county executive because we had a local government here that was badly off track. There was a lot of wasteful spending, there was corruption issues, and I tackled fixing that. I represent 2/3 of our state population, more than 500,000 people, and I've made tough choices to cut spending, to rein in our budget, to balance our budget, and to deliver great services to help strengthen and support our police, our paramedics, to deliver better parks and libraries, and to work closely with our local business community to help them bring people back to work in our community. That's the kind of experience, hands-on, practical experience, making local government work for folks that I think will resonate with Delawareans who want a fresh face, some new energy and experience, but who also has the capability, the competence to go to Washington and tackle what's wrong there.
I want to talk about your opponent for a moment, because already on your website you are claiming that she's someone with some odd conspiracy theories, perhaps not suited to represent Delaware. Everyone assumed that Congressman Castle was going to handily defeat her, and now we all know how that turned out. Can you afford to underestimate her?
Oh, I don't take anything for granted, Nancy, and I respect and will debate and deal, I think, respectfully with my Republican opponent. It's important for Delawareans to have a chance through public debates and through other opportunities to learn about our records and to learn about our policy ideas. And I'm going to do my level best to keep this campaign focused on what matters most, fixing Washington and making it work better for the people of Delaware.
There's some back and forth going on right now, as you know, in the Republican Party about how much money they're going to give her, what kind of support they're going to give her, because some people don't consider her a viable candidate. But as we've all seen, no matter how much money the Republican Party gives her, the Tea Party is backing her, and the Tea Party Express has some pretty deep pockets. What does your fundraising apparatus look like right now? How much money do you have in the bank?
I've got close to $1 million that I've raised, mostly from Delawareans. And frankly, Nancy, I think folks in Delaware didn't respond very well to the flurry of people from all over the country coming in during the primary and sort of telling them which way to vote and trying to press the outcome one way or the other. This is a campaign that really ought to focus on meeting Delaware's real needs. There are national issues at stake. Obviously, a senator votes on, makes decisions on critical issues to our country as a whole, and has to be ready to step up and take on a very serious job. But Delaware is a place that has always had a very civil political community. We respect each other. We know each other. It is so small that it's really a state of neighbors. And I think it's important to folks in Delaware that I stay focused on their needs and their concerns.
Democrat Chris Coons, suddenly half of one of the most heavily watched races in the country. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on Washington Unplugged today.
Thank you, Nancy. Thanks for a chance to be with you.